Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Health and Public Safety Committee. To- Today is November 20th, 2024. I'd like to ask Clerk Tirado for any preliminary comments that she needs to make, and then to take roll call of the committee. After that, I then have some introductory comments to make, and then we'll move into the agenda. Thank you. Clerk Tirado.
Good afternoon. Good evening, members of the public. For audio quality, we will be muting everyone not speaking by default to maintain good audio quality for council and yourself. We do have a sign language interpreter with us this evening, and this meeting will also be recorded and posted online. At this time, I will take the roll. Chairperson Thomas Morgan.
Present.
Vice Chair Dr. Davis.
Present.
Councilmember White. Councilmember Warner. Citizen Member Savino Rivera.
Present.
Citizen Member Frank Spezza.
Present.
I will also like to acknowledge additional council members. Councilmember Kenneth Lee. Councilmember Ophelia Gooden Rogers.
Present.
Council President Sharon McBride is online. Councilmember Sherry Bolden Simpson.
Present.
And Councilmember and Vice President Sheila Naskoski is online. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Chair Thomas Morgan.
Thank you, Clerk Tirado. I just have a few introductory comments. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone who has joined us here in the chambers in person and virtually on Teams. The purpose of tonight's Health and Public Safety Committee meeting is informational, to receive an update and to gain an understanding of the state statutes pertaining to establishing a merit system and a merit board. I arranged this meeting so committee members, council members, and the public may be informed of the statutes and be best equipped to deliberate the merits of the bill that we will be hearing on Monday, November 25th. For tonight, only questions pertaining to tonight's agenda item and presentation from committee and council members will be entertained and answered by our council attorney, who will be the presenter. We will not be able to entertain any questions about Bill 65-24 because it has not yet been presented to the committee and is therefore premature under the proceedings for the standing committee. I do trust our committee and council members will ask the questions necessary in order to gain a solid understanding of the state laws, and that this, in turn, will help to inform everyone in attendance. I also do understand that there still may be outstanding questions even after we leave tonight. I felt it was better to have this informational meeting tonight, separate from Monday's hearing, in order to give everyone time to consider the information provided tonight and to have the rest of the week to circle back with Attorney Palmer and anyone else for that matter with any additional questions or need for clarification. You can feel free to email Council Attorney Bob Palmer at bpalmer@southbendin.gov with any questions that you may have. Regarding Bill 65-24 itself, second reading committee, public hearing, and third reading for the bill were set at our November 13th council meeting for Monday, November 25th. As a reminder, there will be a public comment period for Bill 65-24 on November 25th during the Health and Public Safety Committee and during Committee of the Whole. So just a bit about the structure for tonight's meeting. Shortly, I'll be turning the floor over to Council Attorney Bob Palmer, who will be tonight's presenter. Council and committee members can ask 2 questions, and again, pertaining only to tonight's agenda items. Committee members will go first, Then I'll turn to council members. I will circle back to committee members for another round if there are additional questions or clarifications they have. Our meeting is scheduled from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. tonight. If there is time after all committee and council questions have been exhausted, I will open any remaining time for questions about tonight's presentation from the public. Again, we can only entertain questions pertaining to the topic on the agenda, state statutes, and what has been presented. So as a reminder about decorum, committee and council members, I remind you that you should be recognized by the chair before you speak.
Okay, of course.
And lastly, I would just like to share the statement that is often said before every council meeting and committee meeting. Throughout the course of this committee meeting, I request the highest in respect and decorum. Disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or personal attacks will not be tolerated and may result in forfeiting the remainder of his or her time for questions. At this point, I will turn it over to Attorney Bob Palmer, our presenter.
Point of order.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you?
Thank you for your comments, Madam Chair. I would like for us, given the nature of this bill, and since this was passed back in May of 2023, 18 months ago, and to give the public only one option of sharing their questions and concerns is concerning, that we will hear their concerns only on Monday because we have a time limit that we have to make this decision in with the options that our attorney is about to present. And so given that, I would love to be able to hear in our, like for our agenda to be amended tonight, where we can at least hear 15 to 20 minutes, if not more, of the public. So I'd like to make a motion to amend our agenda to hear from the public after we have had that. And so I make that motion.
I'm just going to turn it over to our parliamentarian, Ms. Attorney Bob Palmer.
Yes, it's perfectly proper to amend the agenda to include matters that are not currently on it. So if the chair and the committee wish to entertain discussion on the bill that is on the agenda from the public, since that is not currently on the agenda, that's within the discretion of the committee, as long as it's limited to the state statutes that are the subject of this meeting.
And I want to, that
So,
motion.
I'm sorry,
that motion
just
is
to-
limited. The motion is to limit it, just like you said.
To limit public question to the topic.
Correct.
Right. And I did in my opening statement say that if there's time remaining, I would like to give that time to the public to be able to ask questions.
Correct. I
So-
understood that.
We will be doing that.
My amendment, my motion is whether we get to 8 o'clock or 8:05 or 7:50, that the public will be at least given approximately at least 20 minutes or so. And not just if we get to 7:59, they're given 1 minute. So if that's what I'm amending.
That creates an issue with the Indiana open door law because the notice of this meeting was for 7 to 8 o'clock. To change the time of the meeting contrary to or different from the notice itself could create a violation of the open door.
I would just like to say the more we talk about this, the more time we are spending that could go to questions for the public. So I want to give everybody
motion on the floor.
significant
I
submission
have a motion on
time.
the floor. Point of order. I have a motion on the floor.
Mr. Palmer,
You said that we can't do it? Okay, the motion is to extend
what is
the
your,
opportunity. I want to make sure
Hmm?
within the time frame that we have,
I
right?
can live with that.
Okay,
But it's
so
make
it
sure
can't
that-
go over.
Then I would say then my motion then would be that we finish our discussion by at least 15 minutes till, so we can leave some of our meetings to the public. I would honor that.
Okay.
As long as I just follow what the structure so it totally depends on the number of questions that council members and committee has.
Second.
So we will be
It's been
ending
seconded.
at 4.
My motion's been seconded.
Based on the 15 minutes, that's what I'm hearing is just making sure we have a time for at least if we do have any public, that will be within the time frame in which the meeting has been posted and looking at 15 minutes.
So ideally, if we can end our questions by 1:45, then that would allow that for that.
We need to
I-
vote,
I'll take the vote.
take a vote.
Mr. Palmer, do we need to vote on this? I mean, is it
No, you do have to vote on
Okay.
this. It has to be a roll call vote.
that's fine.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine. We are spending time.
I know.
So this motion has been seconded by Councilwoman White. Can you take the roll, please?
Chairperson Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dr. Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
I'm confused by the theatrics, but aye. Aye, yes.
Citizen Member Rivera,
Aye.
Citizen Member Frank Bessa.
Aye.
I have 6 ayes.
Thank
And
you.
I'm present, Clerk Torado.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Niskoski.
Yeah, so I'm
Thank you. So
sorry, I had-
please, so now we don't delay any more time, so we make sure that we have proper time. I'm turning it over to our presenter, Attorney Bob Palmer.
Thank you, Chair. Bob Palmer with offices in the 4th floor of this building. I'm the attorney for the Common Council. Purpose of tonight's presentation is to give the council and the committee and members of the public an idea of the new statutory scheme in Indiana providing for a police and/or fire merit board. For purposes of tonight's meeting, I will be addressing the police merit board. However, essentially the same process applies to both the police and the fire. The Indiana State Legislature last year decided to strongly encourage cities and towns to create a merit system for police and fire departments. Prior to that, there had been a statute which gave the towns and cities the authority to create a merit system. Apparently, the legislature felt that it was necessary to strongly encourage the cities and towns to take advantage of the statute and to make merit system the law of the land. So for purposes of clarification, there are 2 different sets of statutes at issue. The existing statute prior to 2023 simply gave towns and cities the right to establish a merit system for any and all city or town employees. The statutes, and there's a series of them that are all tied together that were passed by the legislature last year, provide certain options for cities and towns. Essentially, there are 4 options available, and each option has its own ramifications, and we'll be going through those options in this presentation. The current system in South Bend, Indiana, is that all disciplinary promotions, employment, all rules having to do with the police department are administered by the Board of Public Safety. The Board of Public Safety consists of 5 members. Sorry. I'm accustomed sitting in that chair, not up here. The Board of Public Safety consists of 5 members, 5 civilian members. Each one of them is appointed by the mayor And the Board of Public Safety is responsible for appointments, promotions, discipline, and policies applicable to the police department. Under the statutes that were enacted in 2023, there are 4 options available to the council and to members of the police department. First option is to do nothing. Don't pass any ordinances, don't pass any resolutions, and that has its ramifications. The second option is to pass an ordinance or resolution establishing a merit system pursuant to the new statutes. Option 3 is to pass an ordinance or resolution rejecting any establishment of a merit system applicable to South Bend. And the fourth option is to pass an ordinance establishing a merit system under the prior law that was in existence before 2023. Option 1, to do nothing. Under the new statutes, if a merit system is not established or rejected by an ordinance or resolution, and the key is and, approved by a majority vote of active members of the department, the state statute automatically takes effect and sets forth all the rules and regulations and boundaries that the merit board can operate under in South Bend. What becomes mandatory under that system is 2 persons of different political parties are appointed by the mayor to the commission. 1 person is appointed by the common council, and 2 persons of different political parties are elected by the active members of the police department. The persons elected by the police department cannot be active members of the police department. So that's a requirement that's included in all of these options. Doing nothing includes passing an ordinance by the council that is not approved by the majority of the active members of the police department. So for an example, if the council passes an ordinance establishing a merit commission and majority of the active members of the police department do not approve that ordinance, nothing happens and you automatically go to the state model that applies the state legislature statute to the city of South Bend. Option 2 is to pass an ordinance or resolution establishing a merit system. Again, establishment of a merit system requires an ordinance or resolution passed by the common council and approved by a majority vote of active members of the department. Additionally, there are some time limitations on this. Active members of the department must have at least 3 weeks' notice between the passage of the ordinance or the resolution and the time they vote. Passing a local merit system ordinance under option 2 gives the Common Council a little bit more flexibility in the rules and regulations that will apply to the merit system. They're not bound strictly and only by the rules that passed by the legislature. What is mandatory, however, is that the same composition of the merit board will apply. 2 members of different political parties appointed by the mayor, 1 person appointed by the common council, and 2 persons of different political parties elected by the active members of the department. Option 3. Option 3 calls for a rejection of a merit system. Rejection of a merit system requires an ordinance or resolution passed by the common council and approved by a majority vote of active members of the department. Again, the active members of the department must have at least 3 weeks' notice between passage of the ordinance or resolution and their vote. If the Common Council passes such a resolution rejecting the merit system and the active members of the police department agree with that, it results in a continuation of the administration of the police department to be carried on by the Board of Public Safety. If a majority of the active members vote to reject the merit system, another proposal for a merit system may not be put to a vote within 1 year after their prior vote was taken. Option 4, and this is something that is provided for by the specific wording of the new statutes. However, I'm not sure that the legislature realized what they were saying when they wrote this part of the statute. Under option 4, the Common Council can pass an ordinance under the existing statute creating a merit system. The merit system would not be subject to any of the requirements of the state system other than the members of the police department would be entitled to elect at least 1/3 of the members of the merit commission. There's also another mandatory provision referring to a medical director giving reasons why a police officer is being subject to medical issues. Under this system passed under the prior ordinance, there is no requirement that for a vote by the active members of the department. It will simply be subject to passage by the Common Council. There would not be any requirement for members of the commission to be members of different political parties. There is no mandatory number of commission members. Commission members could be whatever the Common Council decides is appropriate. Again, what is mandatory is that the police department will be represented at least by 1/3 of the members of the merit commission. I've gone through this very quickly, cut some of it out, trying to save time for public questions if we get that far. However, that is the current state of the Indiana statutes with respect to establishing a police merit board. And I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Council Attorney Bob Palmer. So as I explained earlier, I would like to turn to committee members first. In this round, you have the opportunity to ask 2 questions. I trust that there are plenty of questions out there, so I'm looking to you. Please just let me know if you'd like to be recognized. Councilman Davis.
Thank you. Attorney Palmer, are you aware of been able to speak to the Greenfield and Brownburg cities of Indiana to determine their rationale of why they chose option 3 and to look at that because which was they chose to just say no to it and keep their current one?
I have not had the opportunity to speak to the officials. I assume, however, that it's because the active members of the police departments did not want to have a merit system. They could have forced it if they wanted to, but apparently they chose not to.
Is follow up to that one, then I have one more final one for regarding option 4. Is there any way that you could reach out prior to Monday to their attorneys just to get some background information on that for us, please?
To get background information on what?
On those two cities.
Those two, yes,
Yeah, Greenfield.
yes.
Indiana and Brownsburg, Indiana.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay. And when it comes down to option 4, it is possible, basically, this gives us the option to do similar to what we did with the Community Review Board by creating it all, except for the fact that we would have to have 1/3 of the members elected by that. And it does, what I'm hearing for you say, that those people who are from the department, even though they would have 1/3 on the active board, they are not required to vote.
They're not required to vote for purposes of whether the merit board goes into effect. They would be required to vote to elect their members for the commission.
So they would be required to vote while they are when they're in the commission, but they're not required to vote whether or not we want that or not.
Correct,
Correct.
correct.
I'm at peace.
Thank you for those questions. Other committee members? Yes, Mr. Speza.
Hi, option 1 and 2, with the mandatory components of the board.
Yes,
2 persons of different political parties elected by the active members of the department. In the event that the merit commission is, or the merit system is for both police and fire, do both of those departments then elect 2 members each, or is that 2 total?
that's correct. There would be a separate merit system for both, for each, the police and the fire. It's my understanding that the fire department has decided to pursue the mandatory state remedies. But there will be 2 merit systems, 1 for each.
Understood. Thank you.
Other questions from the committee? Yes, Councilwoman White.
Option number 4.
Yes,
It appears, and hopefully I'm understanding this correctly, if this was an option that would be before the council, it changes where 1/3 of its members, the mandatory must include provision under which the commission or governing board of the merit system has at least 1/3 of its members elected by the members of the department. So either way, any of these options, for example, we're talking about the police department, they have to take it to their membership.
yes.
Okay. And they
Well,
have to
no,
vote.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I
I
wanted to make sure.
misspoke.
Okay.
Under option 4, they do not.
They do not, but the other options,
The other options have to be put up to a vote by the
By its
active
membership.
members.
okay.
Yes.
And my second question, I just want to make sure when I leave, I have a clear understanding. There are 2 different statutes as far as timeline.
Well, there are 2 different statutes.
Mhm.
The timeline is the same
Okay.
as far as the limitation for passing an ordinance. If an ordinance is not passed under the prior ordinance, prior statute, if it is not passed by December 31st, the state mandated system will come into play. Under the new statutory scheme, the ordinance would have to be passed by the council, and the police officers would have to vote on it with not less than 3 weeks after passage by the council. So for example, if the council passed this on Monday, the earliest the police department could vote on it would be 3 weeks from Monday, assuming that the mayor would sign it the same night.
Okay, thank you.
Other committee members with questions? Yes, Councilman Warner.
So just to clarify, if the council and the officers don't vote for the same thing, then we end up with the state model.
Correct.
Correct.
Other than if the council passes the merit system under the prior law. then the officers do not have to vote.
Unless we do number 4.
Correct.
Okay. And fire has chosen the route to do nothing and take the state model.
Yes. And just for a little bit more explanation of that, it's the general understanding that the statutes, the new statutory scheme, was enacted primarily for the benefit of firefighters, and that the legislatures then decided to pull in the police department
Yeah,
too.
it was written by firefighters.
Yes.
Yeah. There's also a section in it that establishes kind of disciplinary,
Yes,
that is in subsection 17.
yes.
What are the differences that would between that subsection and if you know what is currently in place?
Oh, currently in place is the a disciplinary matrix that's employed by the Board of Public Safety. To be honest with you, I don't know the specific differences between that matrix and the statutory disciplinary actions.
Okay. Would the matrix be able to stay? I don't know. I've read through it. I guess there's arguments you could make both for why they could and why they couldn't adopt the matrix. But that section does lay out, situations where discipline may be issued, shall be issued,
Yes,
but in a different way than the matrix does. So
correct.
that kind of leans against that being able to adopt a matrix if we use the state model.
Correct. Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
If we went under the prior statute, then the matrix would be applicable or could be
Could
applicable.
be used and adopted.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other committee members first. Committee members? Okay.
Yes, I have a
I,
question.
as a member of the committee, I have, I'll go to council members after committee members. So just one briefly, in terms of option 1, do nothing. When
Yeah.
we say the state implements the merit board, what do we mean by it? What entity does that?
Well, the statute itself sets forth all the requirements and options available under the state system. And the city would not be permitted either through ordinance or otherwise to modify those provisions at all.
Okay, so as I understand this, option 4 provides local municipalities most flexibility.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
The only mandatory provisions under the option 4 would be the 1/3 representation on the board by the police department and the provision regarding a medical director giving written reasons.
Okay, thank you. I would like now to turn to council members. And then we'll do one more round for committee members, but council members in the chambers first. Yes, Councilman Lee.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Palmer, for your presentation. Just to give clarity, or just so everybody will understand, this is something that was passed down from the state.
Correct.
If we as a council don't do anything, the state's model will be in place.
Correct.
Once the state's model is in place, we no longer have the option to do anything to change that from being in place, that merit system from being in place, correct?
Correct.
And option 4, is that what our 6524 is based out of?
Yes.
And so option 4 gives us the flexibility as local government to, again, create the merit system for our city. And then also all of the models have where it's 2 from the mayor's office, 2 from the fire department, and 1 from the council. So that part of the statute doesn't change, but it does give us the opportunity to be involved in the process and do this locally.
Just to clarify, under option 4, the one that gives us the most flexibility, it is possible to enact an ordinance that would change the number of members of the commission. The current ordinance that has been filed does not change that number. For that part of the merit system, the ordinance would be the same. The other benefit of option 4, it gives the council the ability to amend by ordinance any of the provisions if it's determined that something is not working out quite the way everyone intended it to.
Okay, so again, with what my second question was, this just gives us the opportunity, if this is an act
Any city employee. There are no other requirements under that statute. You could do virtually anything you wanted that was not unconstitutional or illegal. Under the set of statutes that were enacted last year, specifically addressing police and fire, there are a number of requirements, such as the number of people appointed, the political affiliations, etc. So it's very much more detailed than the open-ended prior statute.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to turn to council members who are online. Vice President Sheila Nitzgotsky and then President Sharon McBride.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of lost part of the last part that was said, but my question has to do with the existing board. If options 1, 2, or 3 are chosen, what happens to the existing Board of Public Safety? Will they still oversee like animal control, park offices? What happens to those functions?
Absolutely. All functions other than the administration of the police and fire departments will remain within the Board of Public Safety to administer. There is a possibility, given that so much of the Board of Public Safety deals with police and fire, that the Board of Public Safety and the Board of Public Works could be merged into one board. However, at this time, there's nothing on the table to provide for that, nor do I believe anything is anticipated. I say that only because at one time, the Board of Public Works and the Board of Public Safety were a combined board.
Okay, and my question is, being that this was created more for fire than police, are there any systems that police may have or the fire, well, since the fire is going with it, let's say police, that they wouldn't be able to adhere to in the state law?
I don't know if there is anything in the state law that the police officers might not want to adhere to. I do know that the ordinance under option 4 gives the police officers more flexibility than any other ordinance. There might be something that they disagree with respect to members of the commission being affiliated with different parties. They may not like the way the state ordinance provides for discipline. The option 4 provides much more flexibility and input from the police officers than any of the state models do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. President McBride?
Thank you so much. I just had a question about the Board of Public Safety and the CRB board, because I know that there were some questions that if it affects those two entities. And then my second question would be, if we reject the bill, I know we've been getting a lot of questions, so just to make it plain, if we were to reject the bill, it reverts back to the state statute. Can you reiterate that, Bob?
Yes, if the council would pass an ordinance rejecting the merit system and the police officers would vote to follow the council's rejection, then we would keep the current system with the Board of Public Safety. If the police officers, however, would disagree with the council, if the police officers would disagree with the council's decision to reject the ordinance and reject the merit system, then there would essentially be nothing done, and we would go with the state mandatory system. And with respect to your question about the Community Police Review Board, quite frankly, I don't think anyone's had the opportunity to closely look at the differences and the correlations between the ordinances. However, I don't believe that there's anything inherently contradictory in those ordinances, because it would apply, the Community Police Review Board ordinances apply just apply to the Board of Public Safety, just as it would apply to the merit system. But I don't think anyone has looked closely enough to be able to say that for a certainty.
Thank you.
Does that exhaust your questions, President McBride?
Yes, it does.
I would like just to turn to committee members if there are any final questions from committee member. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ophelia Gooden Rogers.
So, Attorney Bob, I would like to know, so what happens to the Police Review Board? Will it remain, or is it, we gonna keep it, or what would happen to it?
I believe that it will remain. I'm sure that there may be some inconsistencies that will have to be worked out. But as I said, that there's nothing inherently different between the Board of Public Safety operating with the Community Police Review Board and the Merit Commission operating within that same system. Okay. Okay. I've been asked to repeat the answers I gave to President McBride's questions. President McBride, could you repeat those for me, please? Oh, and Councilmember Bowden's system. Okay, I'm sorry. It was Sherry. I'm sorry.
You want me to ask it again?
Yes, please.
I asked you to give the high points of, to differentiate the prior statute and the new statute. Maybe
Yes.
give some bullet points.
Yes,
on the difference?
the prior statute authorized the city to create a merit board with essentially no guidelines whatsoever. The city could enact a merit system that would include any type of provisions that were not unconstitutional or illegal. It creates great flexibility within the city to specify what their merit system will look like. Under the new statute passed last year, everything that the city would be able to do would be circumscribed somewhat by the statute. And the degree that would be controlled by the statute differs depending on which option you would take. If you or if you do not do anything, there's no flexibility. You are going to be applying the state statute. If you pass an ordinance under that statute, there is a bit of flexibility, but not a lot.
Thank you for repeating that. I believe that the volume was muted or something for the public online. There is, I'd like, again, one round to committee members. It is not, you're not obligated to ask questions. We do want to turn questions to the public about the presentation. So any final questions from committee members? Mr. Speza.
Yes, hi, just one more quick question on when the rules for the merit system could be changed. To my understanding, under option 4, we would set that up on our own. Options 1 or 3, we would be locked in permanently. But under option 2, when is there an opportunity for amendment down the road?
Yes, under options 1, 2, and 3, there's an opportunity to change after a 1-year period.
Okay.
You have to wait at least a year before you can submit it back to the police officers for a vote. Because the option 4 does not require a vote from the police officers, the council would be free to amend that statute at any time.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have time now to open the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, I am sorry. Okay.
That's okay.
Yes, committee
So
member.
I think as Councilmember Lee pointed out, so the bill is option 4. And basically the operation, function, discipline, everything, how the Board of Public Safety operates now would continue with option 4, other than there would be now, as the state law is requiring, 1/3 of the members are elected by the police department members.
It could operate exactly as it does now with that exception. However, that would be for the merit commission to determine on their own. They are the ones who have to propose and adopt the rules under which they operate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any final questions from committee members? Okay, we will turn to the public now. Just to be sensitive that everyone is given the opportunity. We have until 8 o'clock. If you could limit your questions to 1 so that others will have the opportunity. And if there are no other questions, then we can come back to you if you have a second question. So please come to, those in the chamber, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Those in the virtual community, please put your name in the chat and say that you'd like to ask a question. Yes.
My name is Wayne Hubbard. My address is 4313 Windsor Place. My question, if there's so much unsure between the council members, the committee members, and your attorney himself, why not wait another year, spend the time to closely more examine it, create a better option for everyone in the community, instead of rushing it and risking the next year, making the city a worse for wear place than it already has been? That's it.
Thank you for your question.
The ramifications of trying to put this off for another year is if something is not done by December 31st of this year, we are going to be stuck with the state mandated option 1 requirements of the statutes. That's correct.
That is correct. I'd like to, is that a different question? I need
No,
to move on to other public. Do you want to clarify your
I would like to
question or your
clarify that
answer?
very
Okay.
Quickly, rejection of the bill would require a vote by the majority of the police officers themselves. Well,
But no,
whatever they do will have to be voted on by the police officers. They can do, council could do either way.
Thank you. We have another member of the public who would like to ask a question. Please state your name and address.
Carol Stewart, 1035 Allen Street, South Bend. My only question is, I'm just confused with this option number 4. The 2023 ordinance doesn't supersede this?
No, the prior ordinance was not amended, repealed, or vacated in any way. And actually, the new ordinance, the 2023 ordinances, specifically refer to the establishment of a merit system under the prior statute.
Next. Thank you for your question.
Catherine Redding, 1134 Lamont Terrace, and thank you for introducing this bill, Rachel Thomas Morgan, because there's something we can't get around, right? So we have to discuss it. So thank you. But my question is, and of course, I'm in opposition because I think that city officials here in South Bend has done a lot of work on police accountability. There's the matrix, Rubik's disciplinarian. There's the community review board. And there's also the BOP. And with that being said, this is unknown. And I'm standing with Wayne when we say, let's take some time to unpack this. Let's talk to the other cities that has already unrolled this merit system and see if it actually will work for our city.
Ms. Redding, do you have a question
The
about?
question is, why aren't we using what we already have?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The reason we are not necessarily using what is already in place is the fact that that would require the council to pass an ordinance rejecting the merit system and require the police department to vote in favor of that rejection. If the police department would disagree with it, then we would automatically be stuck with the state statute, option 1.
Thank you. Name
My
and
name
address.
is
please.
Jerry
I
Casey.
do want to say we do have members of the public online who would like to ask questions too. So thank you.
Well, you
Go
didn't
ahead.
give us much time. You spent a lot of time talking about what you're going to do and not doing the talk. My name is Jerry Casey. I live at 421 Manitou Place. And as a professor of labor studies at Indiana University, and my husband was there for 22 years, Troy Warner is one of our graduates. What I'm aware of in terms of US labor law, and I was in a university professors union in New York City for 28 years that was in existence for 40 years. These proposals provide way too much power for the workers. Not that I don't think workers should have power, but particularly the police in a racially divided city where the Department of Justice is, has court cases against you all. I think that the issue of more discussion is important. And my question is, do you understand? I'd like to know on what basis workers do not have the right to vote on, things that involve discipline and all kinds of merit in any other system. We don't have it. Why is it just the police? I feel different about the fire department because they're not involved in killing unarmed Black people in our city. But my question is, I believe that you people have an obligation to investigate how this statute, the different four options, would impact the Community Police Review Board that we worked on for months. And we are involved with a national organization of all civilian police review boards in the country, and we know what's going on. And I don't think South Bend hasn't even mobilized that Community Police Review Board. So it seems to me that has to have precedence, and you have an obligation to the city to explain how you're
Your
going to
question
protect that.
is, on what basis do workers have the right to create a disciplinary board? Council Attorney Palmer, do you have a question or an answer to that?
He doesn't know labor law.
Council
not his
Attorney,
specialty.
I'm sorry, could you step away so that our attorney can answer your, attempt to answer your question?
The basis of a need to do this is simply because of the time limitations imposed by the Indiana legislature. The Indiana legislature has set forth what is necessary to create a merit system and what is necessary to reject a merit system. The city of South Bend is obligated to follow the state statutes.
Thank you. We do have members of the public online. Clerk Torado, could you call on these members, please?
Yes. Mr. Jordan Geiger, please unmute yourself and state your name and address, please.
Jordan Geiger, 302 South Falcon Street. Bob, my question is if the council and the police department reject the merit board and the Board of Public Safety remains in place, is the Board of Public Safety governed by the previous state statute or this current one? Does it allow for more flexibility in how the Board of Public Safety can be composed in terms of, like, does the mayor continue to have complete and total appointment power, or could that be changed?
If they both reject the merit system, the system would continue under the Board of Public Safety exactly as it is now, and would require changing ordinances and or statutes to change what is currently in effect.
And option 4 allows more flexibility.
Option
to
4
do that.
allows more flexibility, yes.
Clerk Torado?
Mr. Joseph Adams, could you please unmute yourself and state your name and address?
Joseph Adams, 3465 High Street. My question is, first of all, thank you, Madam Chair. Could option 4 be satisfied by amending the Public Safety Board to include a merit system or a subcommittee? Also, could the police elected members serve solely in an advisory role?
The answer to the second question is no. They have to be voting members under the statute. Conceivably, no. I was about to say conceivably they could be non-voting members under option 4, but that's not true because option 4 includes the mandatory requirement that the 1/3 of the commission members be elected. As far as could we modify option 4 in such a way to, I believe you meant keeping the Board of Public Safety, but adopting some kind of merit system? No, I don't believe that's possible. If we're going to have the Board of Public Safety administering the rules and regulations of the police department, the merit system simply goes away and does not exist.
Clerk Torado, more questions? Are there other members asking questions?
Joshua Morgan, can you please unmute yourself and state your name and address?
Yeah, Joshua Morgan, FOP 3671 West Sample. I'll just right quick, because I know Attorney Palmer is getting kind of beat up there.
Not at all,
I just
Josh.
no, yeah, but I want to help you out here a little bit. So right quick, when the Citizens Review Board was being talked about, I actually spoke in front of the council and I mentioned House Bill 1016 and what it may entail and how it would counteract with the Citizens Review Board. And that was in 2022, right? We knew this bill. It was House Bill 1016, was basically on the legislative side of the state, and they were going to have basically it was a shoo-in to go into effect in July of 2023. So we've known about this for quite some time. The previous councils did not want to heed our warning, and it became state law. So for those wondering why or how we got here, you were warned. We told you what was going to happen, and it is state law. From the FOP's perspective, I can tell you that we would like a merit board. The St. Joseph County Sheriff's Department has a merit board. A lot of police departments across the state of Indiana have merit boards. And I think the whole point of the legislation was to get the vast majority of police departments to work somewhat the same. Now, how is it going to affect the Citizens Review Board? I don't know.
Mr. Morgan,
because-
do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question.
Could you please
And
get
maybe
to
it'll
the
help some of
question?
this. Yes, I will. So is option number 4 are you going to talk about option number 4 on Monday and what that is going to entail and basically how it might be different than the state mandate so that the citizens and everybody will have a better understanding?
Yes, Officer Morgan. The bill that has been filed and is set for second and third hearing on Monday night very specifically sets forth all the rules and regulations of the Merit Commission if enacted under option 4. It's open to public discussion, public debate, and the council is scheduled to vote on passage on Monday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions. Clerk Torado, I see no other questions outstanding. Just for final comments, if anyone has additional questions or clarifications needed, please email Council Attorney Bob Palmer at bpalmer@southbendin.gov. Thank you, Attorney Palmer, for making yourself available. Please try to do so in the next 2 days before the weekend. I trust we will see many of you on Monday, November 25th. The clerk's office will be sending out the committee schedule and the 7 p.m. council notices sometime tomorrow. With that, I adjourn this meeting.